Every photo you take contains two things. There is the image you can see, and there is a hidden layer of data embedded inside it that you cannot see at all. That invisible layer has been quietly traveling with every photo you have shared online, telling strangers things you never intended to reveal, like exactly where you live, what time you woke up this morning, and what device was in your hand when you pressed the button. This is not a flaw someone discovered. It was built by design. Here's what is actually happening. When your smartphone captures an image, it does not just record the pixels, it simultaneously creates a second data file, embedded silently inside the same image file that contains a detailed log of everything surrounding the moment the photo was taken. The technical standard is called EXIF, Exchangeable Image File Format. It was created in 1995 by a Japanese electronics consortium as a communication protocol between cameras and printers. The original problem it was solving was mundane. The camera needed to tell the printer the image dimensions, color profile, and orientation so the printout would look correct. That was the whole purpose, a handshake between two devices sitting next to each other on a desk. Nobody imagined what this standard would look like once GPS chips became standard in smartphones. Open the full metadata on any photo taken with your phone and look at what is actually stored inside it. The make and model of your device, the exact date and time the photo was taken, down to the second, your phone's current operating system version, the lens aperture, the focal length, the shutter speed and ISO setting, whether the flash fired, and if your location services were active when you took the photo, which they almost certainly were, showing the GPS coordinates of where you were standing at that exact moment, longitude, latitude, sometimes altitude above sea level, in some cases the unique serial number of the device itself. All of it is encoded inside the file. None of it is visible when you look at the image, and all of it travels with the photo everywhere it goes. To a friend over text, to a listing when you are selling furniture online, to a professional contact you emailed an attachment to a public forum, to anyone who downloads the file and opens it in the right software, which takes about 10 seconds and requires zero technical skill. In 2012, journalists from Vice magazine flew to Central America to find John McAfee, the antivirus software founder who had been in hiding for weeks after becoming a person of interest in the murder of his neighbor in Belize. They found him. They photographed him. They published the story. The article included a photo with a caption that did not name his location, but they left the EXIF data intact inside the file. Other journalists decoded the GPS coordinates within hours of publication. The precise location became known. The hiding was over. The Vice journalist did not expose him through their writing. They exposed him through data their cameras generated automatically, attached to a file they never thought to check. That story became one of the most cited examples of accidental metadata exposure because of how public the subject was, but quieter versions of the same mistake happen every single day by ordinary people who have no idea the information is there. Researchers at Carnegie Mellon University studying digital privacy have described what they call the metadata aggregation problem. The principle is straightforward. Any single piece of embedded location data may seem harmless in isolation, but photos shared over weeks and months, each containing GPS coordinates, form a map that nobody consciously chose to share. Your morning run photo places you at a specific park at 6:47 a.m. A selfie at lunch places you at a restaurant a few miles from your home. A photo from your living room 2 years ago, before you ever thought to check your settings, contains your home address accurate to within a few meters. No individual data point feels like a surveillance record. Together, they are one. And you assembled it yourself, one photo at a time, without knowing you were building anything at all. The critical variable is the platform you use to share. Some services strip EXIF data when you upload. Instagram has done this since its early years. Twitter removes most metadata from uploaded photos. Facebook does as well, but those are the exceptions in a far larger landscape of contexts where EXIF data travels completely untouched. Email does not strip it. Most direct messaging apps do not strip it. Online marketing platforms, Craigslist, OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace, eBay listing attachments typically do not remove it either. File sharing services preserve it, which means if you have ever listed something for sale online and attached a photo you took inside your home, anyone who downloaded that listing photo had your precise GPS locations in the file before you exchanged a single word with them. Before you give them your name, the address was already embedded in the image. Security researcher Jeremiah Grossman, whose work on web application vulnerabilities has been cited by the Department of Homeland Security, coined the term ambient exposure to describe a pattern he observed in how modern devices erode privacy without anyone noticing. Not through dramatic breaches, not through sophisticated targeted attacks, but through the quiet, steady accumulation of data that devices generate and share in the background without ever drawing your attention to it. EXIF data is one of the clearest examples of this pattern. Nobody designed it to track you. It was built for a narrow, mundane purpose 30 years ago, but the world it now operates in is completely different from the one it was designed for, and the information it embeds has become something the original designers never anticipated. For some people, this is not an inconvenience. It is a direct safety issue. Domestic violence survivors who have relocated and are trying to keep their new address unknown. Journalists working in sensitive environments where their location could put sources or themselves at risk. Whistleblowers sharing documents from inside an organization who need to protect where they are and where the files came from. Activists in countries where photographing certain events can invite government attention. Anyone who has a stalker. The EXIF vulnerability does not make exceptions for any of them. It applies identically regardless of why your location matters. There are documented cases of people being located through GPS data embedded in photos they sent through messaging platforms they believed were private. A photo shared in what felt like a secure conversation contained coordinates, a precise timestamp, and device information the recipient was able to read. One photo was enough. The sender had no idea the image held anything beyond what they could see in it. A study published in the journal Computers and Security found that fewer than 13% of people who regularly share photos online know what EXIF data is. Of those who had heard of it, fewer than half had ever done anything to remove it. That means the overwhelming majority of people sharing photos, which is essentially everyone with a smartphone, are broadcasting a detailed personal record embedded in every image they send, with no awareness that the record exists or that they created it. So what can you actually do about this right now? The first step is to stop your camera from collecting GPS data going forward. On an iPhone, go to Settings, then Privacy and Security, then Location Services, then Camera, and set it to Never. On Android, open your camera app, go to the settings, and find a toggle called Location or Save Location. Turning it off stops your phone from embedding coordinates in any photo you take from that point on. Photos already in your library still contain their original data, but new ones will not. The second step is to strip metadata from photos before sharing them. On an iPhone running iOS 16 or later, this option is built into the operating system, and almost nobody has ever used it. Open a photo, tap the Share button, and before you send anything, tap Options at the top of the Share sheet. You will see a toggle for Location. Turn it off. The copy of the photo that gets shared will not contain your GPS coordinates. One extra tap. It takes 1 second. Most people have never done it because they did not know the option was there. For removing all EXIF data, not just location, but everything, dedicated apps exist. Photo Investigator and Metafo on iPhone show you every embedded data field and let you delete any or all of it before sharing. Scrambled EXIF on Android does the same. If you regularly sell things online, share images in professional contexts, or post to public accounts, stripping metadata before sharing is worth building into the habit. The third step is to know which platforms protect you and which do not, and adjust your behavior accordingly. If you know that Instagram strips your metadata, but the marketplace app you use does not, you treat those two contexts differently. You think about attaching a photo to an email the same way you would think about writing your home address in the body of that email. The platforms do not warn you where they fall. You have to know it in advance, or assume the worst until you verify. And the fourth step, the one most people skip entirely, is to think about what is actually visible inside the frame, not just what's inside the data file. Researchers at the University of Washington demonstrated that machine learning systems can now identify the approximate location of a photo from visual content alone, with no metadata present at all. Architecture, street signs, storefronts, vegetation patterns, and distinctive landmarks are enough for a model to narrow a photo down to a specific neighborhood or even a specific block. Stripping EXIF data is the right move, but it does not make a photo that has your house number visible in the background into an anonymous image. Privacy requires thinking about both layers. Every photo you take contains two things: the image you can see and a hidden layer of data you did not know you were creating, generated automatically by your device, embedded silently in every image you have taken, and sent with every photo you have shared, most of the time without you even knowing it was there. Now you know it is there. The next photo you share tells a little less about you than the last one did.